Hey everyone, welcome back to Conversa, the place where we discuss art with the leading artists from across the world. Today we sit down with Larn Berge. He is an award winning photographer known for capturing the essence of nature and human experience. His work, focused on landscape, portrait, wedding, and event photography, reflects a mastery of light, texture, and emotion. Lon finds beauty in the everyday. I'm sure you're as excited as I am. So let's get to see the world through his lens. But before you forget, subscribe to the channel and also check out his work. Thanks for joining the studio.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me.
Okay. For the viewers here, Lan is a New Zealand based photographer. He's done an amazing work. My research is, countless awards, many other accomplishments. But instead of me talking about them, I'd probably prefer to hand it over to Lan. So, Lan, over to you. Why don't you go and tell us about your background?
Yeah, cheers, mate. So my name's Larn Berge, and I'm based out of Te Awamutu, New Zealand, which is in the North Island of New Zealand. I haven't only been taking photography seriously. Uh, it's only just coming up 2 years now, believe it or not. So not a very long time. Some could say that I'm a pretty quick learner.
Excellent.
But for me, I've always loved the outdoors and nature and hiking and being connected with nature. So for me, photography has certainly enhanced that aspect of something that I really love. So it's that connection with nature basically is what my main philosophy around photography would be. So I like to sort of see myself as a nature photographer rather than a landscape or bird or more nature. So it's just capturing the nature's beauty, basically. And whether that's the mountains, beaches, sunsets, sunrises, and wildlife, and rivers, and everything in between. So it's definitely that's what the whole thing's based around for me. And it's the photo is just the end result, of the adventure, basically. So for me, it's about being present and being, I guess, mindful when you're out there in nature and feeling connected. And then whether you come away with an image or not is it's the cherry on the top for sure. But the drive really is about pushing myself outside and being with nature first and foremost. And over the last 2 years, I started entering a few international and national competitions. And I've done extremely well out of them. We can talk about some of the photos as we go, but I guess I've sort of developed quite a natural eye for it all, and I think being really connected with nature, and then obviously understanding how to use your equipment, you can pretty quickly capture some amazing things because you've just got to be there, be there to witness it, and that's really what you are, a witness. And then if you manage to capture something incredible, is great, and I feel like I've had really good luck with that too. It seems the time I go out, I seem to get a good time, or
Yeah.
yeah, I know a lot of landscape photographers that sort of 9 times out of 10 they don't get good conditions, but maybe it's luck, maybe it's something else, but I just seem to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe being based out of a beautiful place like New Zealand is also a blessing in disguise, right?
definitely, yeah, we're lucky here in New Zealand that there is so much natural beauty, I guess. And our sunsets and sunrises and moody weather and all those sorts of things certainly help to capture a great image. So yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Now, we've talked about landscape, but I also know that you have a passion for pursuing other genres of photography as well. What other things do you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess my heart sits with nature and landscape and nature photography, but I do lots of other photography. So I do weddings. Several people approach me for weddings, but mainly because of my landscape work. So they want the sort of grand landscape wedding style photos. So
Uh-huh.
that's where most of my work leads in that area. And then, I'll do family portraits and sort of anything really. I do a lot of event photography, and
Okay.
so it certainly doesn't just stop with landscape photography, and I guess all the other stuff. It helps to bring in a bit of income too. That can fund trips, just
Mm,
and new gear.
mm,
So I've always wanted, I guess, the photography to be self sufficient, so that
mm, mm.
as you probably know, the gear isn't cheap.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've been able to actually fund everything
Mm, mm.
and trips around the country or overseas, and it's all been funded by photography work. So it's been great.
Brilliant.
And I think
Brilliant.
that's something that other people should probably look at is, yes, you can have a desire for landscape and other things, but sometimes it's nice to fund, to be
Mm,
able to fund your passion as well. So you're not bleeding money from
mm.
other areas. So that's something I really try and do.
And maybe we'll get a few tips on how to fund the passion. But I'm very intrigued by, and I had the same feeling when I was researching, going through your portfolio, and I could not even count the number of awards. And now I look at your wall. Tell us, something about all of these awards. The Photographer of the Year award, and there are highly commended work award, and there are several of them. So,
Um, I guess I mean, this isn't even all of them, to be honest, on the wall here.
okay.
I haven't, I've almost stopped putting them up now because the walls are getting, and I have actually, started to lay a little bit off. For me, the entering competitions and stuff was, I wanted to get, because I've only been doing photography for a short amount of time, I wanted to use it as I guess, as a gauge to how my work is going. And it just, because these are pretty big international competitions, some of these, and yeah, you start to see where your benchmark, where you are as a photographer, I guess. And it started off, I got a few commendeds, and I thought, oh, okay, well, that's nice, because to get any sort of awards, in these bigger competitions, anyways, it's not easy.
Mm,
And then I did a I did a big astro piece called the Kiwi Way, which I named. I might
mhm.
be able to find that later.
Okay.
And it was a big panorama of the Milky Way over Mount Ruapehu in New Zealand here, and
Mhm.
entered that into a art awards in New Zealand here, the Waimarino Art Awards, and it actually won first place for photography. So that was really cool, and there's good prize money in this stuff too. So again, you're able to fund things, and I guess over the last 12 months, I've entered a few more photographer of the year, Australasia, which I was a finalist in, and the Mono Awards finalist, and then top 20 landscape 2024. And then I entered landscape 2025 and won it.
Wow. Awesome.
And that's Australasian, out of
Congratulations.
yeah. So and that's in the seascape category. So there's 4 categories for landscape
Hmm.
of the year. So it's seascape, scape, and aerial, and can't remember the other one. But yeah, so that was super exciting. And I guess what it allowed me to do, and like I say, it's not so much about having the award, but I guess it makes you realize that okay, your work is now at a level where you want to be, because I do strive for excellence, and I guess that these sorts of things tell you that there's a validation in it. And so now I've just backed off a little bit and
Okay.
not sort of entering so much, and I'll just work throughout the year, and yeah, if something really stands out to me that I feel like I want to enter, then I might. But I feel now that I'm comfortable with
Hmm.
where my work is. So
Awesome. You can share the screen, and we can go through some of the photos, and then we'll have some questions.
yeah, so this is a big astro piece that I did at Ruapani. point, which is out by Raglan in New Zealand, North Island. And it's a very, very remote location and very dangerous to get down to this point that you can see here in the image.
Uh-huh.
Initially, I wanted to capture the comet Atlas that was going, around the world, and everyone was capturing.
Uh-huh.
That was the initial goal. You can see the comet here.
Yep.
But when I got down there and I set up here just before this rock, and this is a blue hour blend, so the foreground was taken in blue hour, and then the sky taken at nighttime.
I understand.
And I didn't. I mean, I kind of knew the Milky Way was going to be in position, but I didn't expect it to be so visible.
Uh,
And you can see Venus here,
uh,
and it also looked like there was a meteor shower happening around Venus. Now, I'm not 100% on that, whether it's just satellites or.
uh,
But the whole image capturing all this in sort of one one attempt was awesome, and it actually got picked up by the New Zealand Herald and was in the papers, and I've sold several prints of this, and yeah, it's been
Beautiful.
yeah.
So, if we talk about this, you said this is a single shot, right? It's not a panorama.
No, this is a panorama.
Okay.
It's about, I think by memory, the sky was 11 shots.
Okay.
So it's, I don't know if you can imagine stitching 11
Yeah.
right through,
Yeah.
and
Understand.
foreground was, I think, around 8 shots for
Got it.
the foreground. So the whole thing is, it's a lot of images there.
Got it. And, when we go out and do astrophotography, we are always referring to tools like photo pills, for example, to find out the elevation of the core and all the other technical aspects.
Yeah.
You said you were out there shooting Comet. How did you know, or was a planning aspect of shooting the Milky Way also a part of your preparation?
It was, and I do use photo pills, but
Uh-huh.
it wasn't actually, ideal. The visibility wasn't ideal, but on this particular night, it did just happen to be quite visible. So even though the app was, I knew it wasn't sort of the best conditions, but yeah, I mean, it showed up a lot more than I thought, and I was able to capture the arch with the comet. So
Uh, uh,
um, it all worked out. And this glow here at the background is just basically the sunset rolling away still.
yeah.
But there was still quite a strong glow there.
This is beautiful. Now, especially from a Milky Way perspective, how do you go about the aspects of replacement of the sky or the foreground? There is a lot of debate about what should you do and what you shouldn't do. So, what's your take on that?
For me, I mean, I'm always open that it's a blue hour blend. The only reason I do this is to keep all this detail in the foreground here. When this is blowing up as a big print, the detail's incredible. It was very windy, so I did want to show these rushes and stuff here with wind. So that's the reason I do the blend. Otherwise, well, as you know, they can be quite noisy. But for me, it's basically I just take the panorama and of the ground, and when you're in a location like this, your horizon line's very straight, as you can see here.
Uh-huh.
So it's just basically a direct cut, and then you're just putting in your night shot into it, basically, in Photoshop. It's quite simple, really. I don't get into too much detail with it. But the one key I do is make sure that I'm not, my tripod's here,
Mm.
and I don't move it because I want it to be authentic to what's getting viewed. And you could still to this day Google or look up whatever, and you'll see that on that day these astro events were there
Mm. Mm.
from that exact location. So yeah, it's quite a simple technique, really.
Brilliant. Also, from a Photoshop perspective, are there any specific tools that you'd like to use? Masking or templates or anything that you have developed yourself around Astro?
No, no. I purely use Photoshop to blend these together. Otherwise, I do everything in Lightroom. So I'll blend this and then send it back to Lightroom, and that's where I'll finish off I guess my edits, and you're just enhancing your colors and saturations. And
Uh,
so I don't really get too in depth, in depth at all with Photoshop as such. It's purely to put these two images together,
uh,
and from there, I mean, I do have an editing workflow, obviously, in Lightroom,
uh,
but that's a pretty big subject, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. So this is one, and then the other one that won the Photographer of the Year award, the Seascape category, right? Yeah, this is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, okay. So this is um this shot here won the Landscape Awards 2025, the Seascape category.
Uh-huh.
Um, so this is the Murawai Gannet colony, um, which is, you probably know Murawai Beach up by Auckland there.
Yep.
Um, so there's been several, photos from there, obviously, but again, this just happened to be one that had it all. And I was there for quite a while. It was quite cloudy. Um, there was only certain times this light really broke through and highlighted all these cliffs and the ocean, and it's this golden light. So I was sort of waiting for this to break through, and the ocean was obviously really rough at the time, and there was big waves smashing against this sea stack here. So I really wanted to freeze the whole atmosphere. So you got the golden light, and I wanted to freeze the waves smashing against the ocean here. I mean, against the sea stack, and then also freeze these gannets in flight. See, I can still picture back to this day, like the amount of movement in this scene is actually quite incredible. I can still remember the sounds and the the colors and everything that was going on. This was all bustling, and these were shooting around everywhere. And then obviously I set myself up in a position where there was, like most of my landscape photos, I really just want good balance in the image. Um, and good. So, with these bigger shapes here in the image, and that's what I'm really looking at, is looking at them as big shapes, really. And there was a nice balance with this composition. And then, it was a real timing thing. Technically, you had to have your settings back on, bang on, so that you could get a fast enough shutter with protecting all your highlights, and not also, making sure you're capturing the shadows as well. So it was one shot, obviously, and just really good timing. The light broke through, the birds were doing their thing, and I waited. I just really wanted this ocean to be smashing up here, and yeah, boom, managed to get it. And
Okay. So, for the benefits of the viewers here, I think the questions that you have in your mind, please drop them in the comments. But Lan, going back to the photo, I presume you would be exposing for the sun here,
yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
then adjusting the composition.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. And what kind of gear were you using? This is definitely not a very wide lens.
I use so all my gear's Canon.
Okay.
I use the Canon R5, and this was actually shot with a 15 to 35 mil.
Okay.
But yes, it probably was at around, I can't remember exactly. I'd have to look at the data, but I think it was, yeah, around that 24 mil.
Huh. Huh. Okay.
And yeah, that's basically how it was shot. Just the R5 and the RF
Huh.
15 to 35 mil.
And I think the other question that I would have on this one is, in a shot like this, when we have a huge dynamic range, how do we deal with that?
Yeah, well, I guess the beauty of the R5 is that they're exceptionally good for their dynamic range.
Mhm.
It always blows me away actually how, like, if you saw the raw image of this,
Mhm.
you'd see how dark it was.
Mhm.
So basically, I was just really focusing on not blowing out those highlights, that sun, and so I think by memory I was shooting it around f16
Mhm.
and a shutter speed of, I think, about what, 800th of a second. So it was very, you can imagine how dark that would have been. Um, but yeah, I mean the R5, you just seem to be able to pull out the data, and I guess it's knowing your gear and trusting what it can do.
Mhm.
Often my images in the back of the camera don't look all that great. But
Yeah.
you're what it's about for me is capturing the data and knowing and trusting that you know to I'm always using the histogram as one of my
Mhm.
absolute must tools, making sure that I've captured the data, and then I know for sure that when I get back to my computer, I've got the data there.
And it's a good point. Tell us, what do you mean by making sure that you've got enough data by looking at the histogram?
Yeah, so the histogram is just, well, vitally important, I believe, when it comes to most
Mhm.
photography, but especially in landscape. So in the histogram, it's basically a graph that's showing all your
Mhm.
data.
Mhm.
And when I'm exposing for shots like this, you can tweak your settings based
Mhm.
around your histogram.
Mhm.
And it's just, yeah, just making sure all your data is in between the ends, basically. So you're not losing your darks and you're not, you know, blowing out your highlights. So if with the R5 being mirrorless, you've got real time histogram data. So for shots like these, if you know your equipment well, you can quickly adjust, shutter speed, ISO, whatever you need to in real time pretty quickly to capture these sort of shots, because it was changing quickly because of the cloud cover. So things
Mhm.
things were on and off, on and off, on and off. So
And
yeah.
in these kind of shots, how much how much of importance is knowing the landscape or knowing the spot and knowing what you would want to capture before you actually get to the spot matters?
I think it's probably always important to have a bit of a plan. I mean, for me personally, I think I like the adventure of not knowing.
Uh-huh.
I like to get to a location fairly early, and I don't really pull the camera out for quite a while. You just enjoy the location and just look for composition. Yeah, so I mean, there's always different approaches, but for me, that's where you start to get the connection with nature. I think if there's too much done outside of nature, you could say, then maybe that's where some people struggle because, you can look at apps and Google Earth and all you want, but, you get to a location like this, for example, and yeah, I'm not sure how much, I mean, yeah, it's helpful, but for me, my approach is about connecting with nature first and foremost, and
Got it.
so connecting with the location. So it would have been a good couple of hours there before I even took a camera out. So it's about enjoying the location and finding your composition and seeing your frame. Like I say, with this is just big shapes that nicely balance up the whole image. So making sure there's separation, places like this, separation here, separation in these spots. So yeah, that's my approach anyway. So for me, I wouldn't put a huge amount of importance on location scouting, I guess. I just like to be there and let nature call to me. So it's sort of the other way around, I think. My
Yes.
approach.
When you are processing these kinds of shots later on, or when you are capturing them, do you already know that this is going to go into a competition?
No, the funny thing with this image is, yeah, I think we always, as artists, you always see things a bit different. I knew this was a nice shot, and like I really liked it, but truly had no idea that this would, be a winner in awards that has over 6,000 entries. But my wife, on the other hand, thought that this was amazing and was definitely an award-winning image. So it I think yeah, as an artist, I often see the pictures differently. Um, and yeah, I just had I really didn't think this would, I yeah, it wasn't because I entered a few. I think I entered 4 images into that awards, and all 4 of them got, no, actually, it was more than that. I think for the landscape, I can't remember the total, but every one of them receives an award.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, I think if your work just starts to get to a certain level, you're probably always gonna do pretty well, and not keeping shots that you're not first and foremost happy with yourself. So yeah, I certainly don't go out thinking I need to capture an award winning photo anyway. Put it that way. That's just not what I'm there for. And like I say, now I've backed off entering these competitions because I feel like now I know my work has sort of come to a certain level, so it's not so much about trying to keep racking up awards. I mean, the money's nice, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't go out with sort of that goal in mind, I guess.
Any other piece of work that you really like that you think is right up there from a technical perspective, even if it doesn't win an award, you're happy with it and you know that it is a superior technical shot? Would you have an example of that?
Yeah, I can. Oh God, there's just so many. I guess I mean, this is a really nice shot. So this sort of style is something I really love. I really love sort of the vertical portrait landscape style. I just and again, you can see what I've done here with composition. You've got shapes and you've got splashes of water shooting off here, and so even though it's a smaller scene, I'm really trying to capture the movement of the whole scene. So I don't like and I do all these shots handheld too, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't use a tripod.
Huh.
Um, I only use a tripod for really long exposure or estro work.
Mhm.
So I can with the R5 and the stabilization and all that, I can get down to nearly half a second and have it sharp.
That's amazing.
These sorts of shots I like to be around. My sort of go-to is about 1/10 of a second, depending on the how quick the water and stuff is. But yeah, that's just a good example there of something that's, I think, not, it's not an easy shot to.
Absolutely.
This was another one from the same location.
That's a beautiful shot as well.
Really wanted to capture the sun that was shooting through the gap here,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
shadowed in by these two rocks here, and you're getting that sunlight on the water on these shoots. Yeah,
Brilliant. One other thing that I also noticed, Lan, on your website was your extensive collection of waterfall shots.
yeah, yeah,
What motivates you to do that? And, do you want to talk about any one of them in specific?
yeah. I mean, waterfall photography for me is, again, it's about the the location.
Uh-huh.
Those are sort of, I guess, places that I just really love being at. So like I said before, first and foremost for me, it's about being out in nature. So I love being around waterfalls. I love the sound, images like this. I love the movement. Um, I just think there's just such a beauty in it, and a calmness in it that
Huh.
that I really enjoy. So yeah, I've covered, several waterfalls throughout New Zealand. So this one was a longer exposure. It's quite There was a lot of, foam in the,
Huh. Huh.
so I really wanted to capture. You can see these swirls
Uh-huh.
and here, these swirls that were kind of creating really interesting shapes, and you can see them running through here.
Huh.
So for this, yes, the tripod was used. That's
Huh.
a really nice waterfall.
Do you use filters on a shot like this?
I do have an ND filter.
Huh.
So yes, if it's if I'm wanting to do a really long exposure, yes, I use a ND filter. I've got a 10-stop filter,
Huh.
but that's the only filter I've got. And yeah, it's just purely, it's more an artist, creative thing, isn't it? Right,
Huh. Huh.
But I also love, going deeper into the scene. So
Yeah.
you can really, go. A lot of people just photograph the whole waterfall, but these are just little segments of waterfalls that I just think create a really nice scene. And these were on the 100 to. It's basically just like I say, it's based around the love for the locations. Yeah.
And from a composition perspective, any tips for our audience here in the sense of what kind of, important things are considered? I know there are rules of composition, then we talk about, following them or not following them.
Yeah.
So there's a huge debate on that all the time, right? So
Yeah.
how do you look at that?
For any image or.
I mean, composition from a landscape perspective, I would say.
Yeah. So for me, for landscape, I always want I guess a subject. So something like,
This is beautiful.
say something like that. You've got a clear subject in here, right? And then compositionally, I don't worry too much about rule of thirds and all that sort of stuff. To me, it's more about balance in the image. So some examples, shots like this, you're going to see that it's weighted sort of well on both sides here. I mean, there's not a huge amount going on here, but this is more about the water movement and these beautiful lines and shapes and color. But I think it's to me compositionally is about balance, and then I do tend to use leading lines a lot. So I try and have things
Yeah, that's
that
beautiful as well.
that are leading to the image, leading you through the image. For example, it's not this was with a wide angle lens, so you can't quite see it, but that's the Hen and Chickens Islands out there. So the way I took this, I wanted to, you can see everything's pushing you to here. Sort of drawing your eye. It was just a shame that I couldn't quite get them bigger. I think, yeah, leading lines are important. Something that leads your eye through the image, and then balance. This, for example, here's sort of your subject where the light's hitting. You can see in a hole in this image, you've got these shapes. So the image looks weighted well on each side, not too heavy, because you've got enough weight here that's pushing you through. So I guess compositionally, it's not. I don't really follow any rules, to be honest. It's more about what's your subject, and getting balance in that subject again. Shapes here. You can see both sides of the image are weighted nicely through to your subject, and then also coloring as well. Like for me, a big one's color. So I think compositionally, you can have, color can be a massive part in that as well, and symmetry. So you can see here, you've got a balance in color, whether that's a reflection or not. So yeah, I guess balance in the image would be my big one, but that can go, it's set in several different ways, I guess.
Wow, this is amazing.
That's sort of an obvious, subject matter put basically in the middle. You can see here there was a couple walking up the beach. This was a sunrise at Whangamata, but the color balance through it all was just stunning to me. And I definitely don't try and oversaturate things, because I think that can destroy an image very quickly. And then it can be simple things like this. This is a simple image, and again, just plonked in the middle. Keep your horizon nice and straight. You can see a few stars up here, and again, a nice color balance through the middle. So overall, it's a simple but yet quite a pleasing image.
It is, definitely.
Um,
And this is also more on the minimalistic side of the things, right? It's
yeah, sure, yeah. Here's a good example of leading.
That's beautiful.
So again, subject in the middle.
Where is this taken at?
This is in Taranaki at the Three Sisters.
Okay.
So this was, you can see a clear leading line here. That's leading you through to your subject. Now this was quite a technical shot, because obviously this water was rushing in this way, and this foamy water here was slowly moving backwards. So what I really tried to do here is get the shutter speed bang on so that I captured the movement in this, but froze this. So you can see this is frozen still, but then the shutter speed was right that we captured the movement in the incoming water. But yeah, I think for me as well, depending on what's happening in the sky or the ground, portrait landscape shots like this, I generally put more weight in the bottom. This one's about 50-50 because there was a nice sky there. But depending on what's happening, that's where you want to put your weight. So often people might have a split image, say through the middle here, but there's nothing happening up here. So it just throws the balance out a little bit. So yeah,
Beautiful stuff. This is all very, very beautiful stuff. And now you've been talking about all these shots from New Zealand, but have you shot outside New Zealand as well that you would want to talk about?
yeah, I have. I probably don't have them ready.
Okay, no worries.
I mean, I've done a lot of shooting in Thailand and
Okay,
Rarotonga and other places, but sorry, I don't have them
that's all right.
right here.
That's all right. Now, going back to one of the other photos which had the awards, I think we were looking at that at the earliest. That is, if I can, yeah, that was this highly commended award. I was looking at the, not this one, the Bridal Veil Falls in black and white.
Yeah, so that was a top 10 winner, that one. And is yeah.
Yep. This is such a powerful shot.
Yeah, so Bridal Veil Falls is shot a lot. It's one of those places where you'll see so many photos and they're often the same. And most of them are from this location. It's just not the sort of area where there's too much, different areas you can go. But yeah, this was just trying something different, getting a bit creative with it. And
Is this taken from a lookout?
yeah, there's a bit of a lookout up there. Yeah. And I just thought, I'll try a much longer exposure to try and really, I guess, show the bridal veil, you know. Um, and it turned out really well. And I like it in black and white because of the obvious, really. The border's white and that's really highlighted in the image. And then I've used the strong blacks as well. So really trying to capture
So
the
is it dark just because of the timing, or is it because of the filter that is stopping light?
no, that was the ND filter for this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this probably stood out the most to me. I mean, I was just awestruck looking at this. This was amazing.
I think it was. Yeah, sorry. It was a top 20 in the photographer of the year. This shot for black and white. Yeah, so it did well. And again, I didn't for such a, you could say, a simple shot, simple composition, but often these are the ones that do really well, right? It's not always about the most crazy photo you can get, I guess.
Absolutely.
Here's another one from the same location, but at the bottom.
Okay.
So that's the bottom down here, and this is at the bottom. But I just really liked the rainbow that was coming off here. And I'll quite often do this for a waterfall photography too. I like to cut off the waterfall. You might have seen that in a bit of my work.
Yep.
I just think it adds a mystery to where the water's coming from, rather than your usual sort of capture the whole frame of the waterfall. So that's a good example of
Definitely.
compositionally for this. It's not really following any rules, but again, it's just balance. because you've got this rainbow here and in a foggy sort of area that I suppose you could say this is in a third. So
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe the rule of thirds a bit there.
Yeah.
But it's not something I really think about too much. It's just, yeah.
That's beautiful work, Lon. Can you share a little bit of guidance in terms of what are the things to watch out for when you're printing or when you're sharing it on social media?
Well, for me, for social media, I don't know if you follow all my posts and stuff, but
I do.
I'm not a big advocate for social media to be honest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like the game, you could say. I know it's nice to share your work, and
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy that. You know that if people sort of resonate with the images and that's nice, but I don't like the sort of what do you call it? Sort of pay to play game that Facebook and that seem to do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of amazing artists and photographers out there that just aren't getting exposure because the algorithms aren't on their side.
Mm-hmm.
And I've
Absolutely.
been putting a few things to the test myself, and it's definitely not a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But in terms of getting, so your images coming out of Lightroom,
Mm.
I think it's important to. I mean, we've got to keep in mind all screens are backlit, so
Mm.
you're seeing the images, I guess, how you're going to see them on a screen, which is okay.
Mm.
And then it's just making sure that you're exporting them out to the right resolution, so that when you're putting them on Facebook and stuff, you're putting up the best possible image without Facebook squashing the resolution. There is a magic number for that. Uh,
Okay.
when you export it out, you
Mm-hmm.
just export the longest edge at 2048 pixels.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can give you a quick example here if you like for
Yeah. Yeah.
anyone that's interested.
Definitely.
Okay, this one.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so when you export it out in here, it's important to resize your image in here.
Mm. Mm.
So resize the longest edge at 2048 pixels.
Uh-huh.
So when you export it out like that,
Mm.
when you post to social media and stuff, it doesn't get squashed.
Okay.
But if you exported it without resizing it, Facebook will squash it down, and then they often look terrible.
Mm.
So I've seen quite a few people, oh, why do my images not look good?
I know. Yeah.
So this is the main reason for that.
Mm.
So that's
Mm.
the magic number there for anyone that wants to know, and it might help them with being able to post better images. I've had several comments, on my page that, man, your images are just so sharp, and
Yeah. Exactly.
so that's the reason why, basically.
Yeah. Excellent.
And then when it comes to printing,
Mm-hmm.
if, say, for an example, I wanted to get this printed,
Mm.
so I definitely make sure when I'm working on prints that I have the screen
Mm.
lit to about there,
Uh-huh.
and that's a more realistic view of how your image is going to actually be printed.
Mm.
I think people often disappointed when you have your screen lit like that,
Mm.
and then they get the print and it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
So often I'll bring it down to around here, and then make sure that that's where I'm doing my edit from,
Mm.
but for
Mm.
printing.
Mm.
And then I just have a printer in Auckland that does my work. But yeah, definitely a big one is the brightness, because our images are not backlit when you
Mm.
get printed.
Mm.
Actually, the Kiwi Wave photos in here.
Uh-huh.
This is won about 6 awards now,
Wow.
and it was in the New Zealand Herald as well. And I've probably sold over 50 prints of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow, this is definitely amazing.
Yeah, so this was my first ever astro piece, and I wanted to capture the arch over Mount Ruapehu and Tongariro in Arahoe. So yeah, that was pulled off on a very cold night down there. But I've learnt a lot since this image, but I was really pleased with it for my first ever. Again, it was a blue hour blend. And this was around 22 photos.
Okay.
So it's a massive, massive area here.
This definitely is amazing. The question I have on this one is, did you have this location in mind? Because this does seem to be completely out there in the wilderness, right? So how did you have that composition thought?
Yeah, so this is National Park, Tongariro National Park, Mount Ruapehu.
Uh-huh.
And I've visited there for years, hiked there, and hiked the mountains, and it's just we actually own some land down here. So it's a place close to my heart. So I definitely knew the place, and it is a dark sky reserve as well. This location. So if you again, it was all planned through photo pills to get the arch. This was late in winter, so the arch was at a pretty low elevation, and yeah, so it was definitely planned around that, and and it was just something I wanted to do. I really wanted to capture the Milky Way over Mount Ruapehu, I guess.
Huh, huh.
And yeah, managed
Very
to
good.
get it, and then it actually went absolutely viral when I posted it. So, I didn't expect that at all.
Huh, huh.
And then the newspapers picked it up and all sorts, and it's won a lot of awards. And to me, it's funny when I look at it now. There's certainly aspects to it that I could do a lot better now.
Huh, huh.
So I might have to do a version 2 of this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been to Mount Ruapehu, and probably we'll plan the part two of this together sometime very soon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be great. Yep.
Brilliant. Well, I think this is all great stuff. I'm completely amazed by the amazing work that you have done.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'll
Yeah.
just I'll just stop sharing the screen now, eh?
Yeah, I think we can conclude the discussion here. Thank you very much, Lan, for taking the time talking to us and showing us all that great work of yours. Really, really appreciate all of all of the openness and the tips, especially. And I think the tip on the social media is just great. I'm going to go and try it myself.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
All right. That's a wrap on today's episode. I really hope something in this conversation sparked an idea, made you pause, and maybe even inspired you to pick up the camera and go create. That's the goal, to learn through stories and shoot better. If you felt something today, do me a small favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. Tell me what stood out and what didn't. And hey, if you've got a friend who's interested in photography or arts, share this with them. Let us build a community where we all grow together. Thanks again for hanging out. Until next time, keep chasing the light.